So we started a month with a monster movie, then we did a rap drama, and then we did a gory slasher, so naturally, we're ending the month with a movie about a children's cartoon. As today at the Channel Points Request of Stale, we're going to look at Tom and Jerry the Movie, released in 1992. So Tom and Jerry the Movie was directed and produced by Phil Roman, who was also the director of the Peanuts and Garfield animated specials, and written by Dennis Marks, who at the time was also a scriptwriter for Tom and Jerry Kids. The film featured a pretty damn good voice cast, including Richard Kind, Dana Hill, Andy McAfee, Charlotte Rae, Tony Jay, Michael Bell, Henry Gibson, and Ed Gilbert. And I say voice cast because this movie made a very major change in the sense that Tom and Jerry had full speaking roles throughout almost the entire film. Oh, and also, it's a musical. I should also mention that Dana Hill, who voiced Jerry in this movie and was most well known for being Audrey in National Lampoon's European Vacation and voicing Max on Goof Troop, had her last ever film role here as she slipped into a diabetic coma in 1996 and unfortunately passed away of a stroke at the age of 32. Back to the film, however, as for what it's about, well, Tom's owners move to a new house and him and Jerry are left homeless until they meet a nice young orphan girl named Robin. Robin's mother is dead and she believes her father to be dead as well, and she's being held hostage by her evil aunt Pristine Fig and her lawyer Lickboot, yes that's his real name, as they try to use her for her daddy's money. On a budget of $3.6 million at the box office, this made back $3.5 million. Yeah, that's right. This was a massive flop. And the reviews were not great either, as critics, audiences, fans of the franchise did not like a lot of the changes, including the voices, and yeah, it just didn't go over very well. One thing that was well received, however, was the musical score done by Henry Mancini. It was one of the last that he did. He is well known as one of the greatest composers in the history of film, perhaps best known for composing the Pink Panther theme and Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's. So yeah, people didn't like this film, but did I? Well, I'm about to go through it right now and then tell you, as we look at Tom and Jerry the Movie, released in 1992. So our film begins with Tom the cat and his family about to move houses into another city. And in an effort to make sure that Jerry the mouse does not follow them, Tom accidentally misses the car and gets left behind. While chasing after the car, Tom accidentally runs into Spike, or maybe it's not Spike, it kinda looks like Spike, but he's a different color than Spike, who chases him back to the house. Well, at least he still got the house, except no, just kidding, as a demolition crew comes to knock it down. Tom then, for whatever reason, goes back to save Jerry, and they both get out of there right before the house gets knocked down. Tom then begins to wander the streets aimlessly, and with no other direction, Jerry begins to follow him. While looking for food, they run into a street dog named Pugsy and his friend Flea named Frankie. Oh, also, turns out Tom and Jerry can talk, just randomly, and neither of them knew it the entire time, because I guess they didn't have anything interesting to say to each other, which is a shitty explanation, but whatever. Pugsy and Frankie then do a musical number about how Tom and Jerry should be friends, but Tom and Jerry are still hesitant. While Tom traps Jerry in a flower pot, Pugsy and Frankie are suddenly captured by two dog catchers, who don't seem to be normal dog catchers, but we'll come back to them. Tom is then confronted by some hostile cats? I think they're cats. That one looks like a fucking bear, who attempt to beat him up before Jerry knocks him down a storm drain. Tom and Jerry then come across a young girl named Robin who shares her food with them. Turns out Robin is an orphan, or at least she believes herself to be. Her mother is dead and her father is presumed dead, as he was on an expedition to Tibet and is believed to have died in an avalanche. And she ran away from home to get away from her evil aunt Pristine. Tom and Jerry, however, are like, dude, at least you had a roof over your head, and convince her to go back. Meanwhile, we meet Pristine, who yes, is very evil, and her lawyer Lickfoot are just using Robin so that they can get at her daddy's trust fund money. And then they do a musical number about how they like money, and the musical numbers are very hit and miss in this movie, but I can say with no uncertainty that this is by far the worst musical number in the whole movie. Like, this is the only number I would say that unequivocally, absolutely, completely fucking sucks. Robin returns to her home with Tom and Jerry, and she's immediately locked in her room while Tom and Jerry go to the kitchen with their obese skateboard-riding dog named Ferdinand, who tries to feed them some shitty food. They end up in a food fight with Ferdinand, which they win, but end up destroying the whole kitchen. Aunt Fig then proposes the next day they be sent to Dr. Applecheek, who apparently has an animal sanctuary. Later that night, Lickfoot gets a memo saying that Robin's father is still alive and attempts to burn it, but fails. Tom and Jerry then retrieve it and attempt to take it to Robin, but they too fail as they're cut off by Aunt Fig. Aunt Fig then takes them to Applecheek, and it's time for the plot twist musical number, as Applecheek initially appears to be a caregiver of animals, but then's revealed to be an evil man who actually kidnaps people's pets to hold them for ransom. Those two dog catchers we saw earlier work for Applecheek, and he orders them to dispose of Tom and Jerry as they're not anybody's pets, and he can't hold them for ransom. Among the other animals locked up with Tom and Jerry include Pugsy and Frankie, who of course were kidnapped a couple days earlier, and also Droopy the dog for some reason. Jerry, because he's small and a mouse, squeezes for the bars to let all the other animals free, which I'm sure Frankie could have done for some time, but hasn't for whatever reason, on account that he's a fucking flea. And after they flee, get it, from Applecheek's place, they get back to Robin's house, who had just completed doing a sad musical number, to tell her that her dad is still alive. Robin, Tom, and Jerry then escape from her house again to set off for Tibet, even though none of them know where that is. They escape from Fig, Lickfoot, and Ferdinand on a raft, which works for a little bit until they're split in half by a cruise ship. The next day, Lickfoot devises an evil plan to get Robin back, offering a $1 million reward, and then once they get her back, simply just not paying it. Meanwhile, Robin's father, who's in Tibet and completely fine, don't know how they thought he was caught in an avalanche, hears about his daughter's disappearance, somehow, and decides to go on back. Meanwhile, Robin has washed up on shore and has been taken in by a creepy man with a creepy parrot puppet. The man's name is Captain Kitty, who runs the Kitty's Carnival, and he is known as the Pirate of Pleasure. I will say that again. The man's name is Captain Kitty, and he is known as the Pirate of Pleasure. Tom and Jerry also wash up on that same shore and find Robin's locket, while Captain Kitty and his weird fucking parrot do a musical number about how they're failures or whatever. Captain Kitty is also conveniently drinking some milk where he sees the reward for Robin and then calls Aunt Fig to come get her. Applecheek, who is over at Fig's house, hears about this too and decides to go get Robin first to collect the reward, even though Fig's the one paying out the reward. That doesn't make any fucking sense. There's not even a reward. It's fake. And on the way there, he insults the two dog catchers and tells them that they're not going to get anything, so they ditch him. Meanwhile, Captain Kitty has trapped Robin up in a Ferris wheel so she won't go nowhere. Luckily, Tom and Jerry are here to the rescue, and just in time as Fig and Lickfoot show up, as well as the two dog catchers. They end up trapping the dog catchers up on the Ferris wheel, and Tom, Jerry, and Robin escape onto a conveniently placed steamboat. And they begin to make their way down the river with Lickfoot and Fig following in a car, Applecheek following in an ice cream cart for whatever reason, and also Captain Kitty following in his speedboat. And after Ferdinand, who is dangling out of Fig and Lickfoot's car, accidentally destroys a bridge, it causes Applecheek to fall off said bridge onto Captain Kitty, which takes them both out of the running. Robin, meanwhile, has decided on a destination, the Robin's Nest, which is a cabin her dad built for her. And upon arriving there, unfortunately for her, Fig and Lickfoot thought of the same thing, and they're already waiting. After locking the door from the inside with a key and then lighting a candle, they try to take Robin back, but in a scuffle, Robin knocks over the candle, which sets the whole house ablaze. Lickfoot and Fig unlock and escape through the door, while Tom and Jerry pull Robin up onto the roof. Luckily, Robin's dad arrives out of nowhere in a helicopter and is able to pull her off, but doesn't get Tom and Jerry as the whole house collapses. They're alright though, obviously, and everyone reunites after happily. The film ends with Tom and Jerry going to live with Robin and her dad at their new house, quickly falling into their old habits of trying to murder each other. So this one was obviously a mixed bag. I didn't necessarily think it was terrible. Definitely not overwhelmingly negative terrible. There was good and bad. The musical numbers were for the most part fine, aside from that one I told you about that was really bad. Don't listen to that one. As far as the dialogue goes, here's the thing. How can I say this? The voices were fine, but the dialogue itself was kinda lame. You know what I mean? Like, I think Richard Kind and Dana Hill did an alright job. I just don't think they were given good enough screenwriting to work with. The plot was mostly fine too. I liked Robin. I thought she was a good inclusion, and it's nice to see, Tom and Jerry have a third friend, I guess, but there's a lot of inconsistencies regarding her dad. Like, first, he was apparently dead in an avalanche, and at one point, Lickfoot said he's alive, but he's trapped somewhere and every bone in his body might be broken. But then when we see him, he's just flying a plane completely fine, and then he gets back from Tibet in record time. Like, that whole part made no fucking sense, and it's very crucial to the story, so it kind of needs to make sense. So yeah, I can understand the reasons why fans of the franchise didn't like it. Tom and Jerry getting regular speaking roles was kind of strange and all that. The musical numbers were hit and miss, but overall, I thought it was alright. It was, a mid-level film. It wasn't terrible. It also wasn't great. Is it something I'd watch again? Maybe. At least it's not that long. It's only like 80 minutes, so that's a positive. Would I recommend it to you? I don't know. If you're just looking to watch it by yourself, maybe not. If it's something to show to the kids, then yeah. If you're worried about like Tom and Jerry type violence, it's not that violent by Tom and Jerry standards, so it would maybe be something better Tom and Jerry, cartoon to show to the kids if that's something you're concerned about. So yeah, from that perspective, I could recommend it, yeah. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for my review of Tom and Jerry the movie. Thank you again, Stale, for using your points on this. Turn back into the channel at some point later this week for what will be our schedule for the upcoming month of February, but that is going to do it for January and for May Day. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, they are all in the video description down below. Thank you to all my patrons who are also named in the video description for supporting me and my channels. I appreciate you guys. With all that being said, though, my name is Noah Taft. This has been my review of Tom and Jerry the movie, released in 1992, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.